friends, what's going on? It's your good pal SeanPierceJohnson here. Welcome back to Stompbox Saturday, where today we are dipping our toes into the world of direct guitar recording with the ENGL CabLoader. If you've been after a simple to use cab sim, mic sim, all sorts of sim pedal so that you can go direct to your recording interface or to the mixing desk at a venue if you play out, well, nobody's really gigging in 2020, but that's neither here or there. The point is, this thing puts the power of the recording studio onto your pedal board so that you can take all these wonderful pedals that we have at our disposal and send it directly to the board. So everything you're going to be hearing today is direct. No amplifiers, no microphones. It's just the ENGL CabLoader and a plethora of pedals on the floor. So let's go ahead and put the CabLoader up on the screen, take a look at the controls, and talk a little bit about what they do and how you can break down this somewhat complex looking pedal. It helps to really look at the CabLoader in 3 different segments, and they're labeled right down here for us. The first being Power Amp, which allows you to select between 6L6, EL34, EL84, 6V6, bunch of different power amp types for you to start crafting the overall tone. Then we get to the cab portion, and this is where I believe that ENGL is going above and beyond, because they have put in 12 different cab sims of their own make, everything from 112 and 212 to oversized 4x12s with a variety of different Celestion speakers that I actually really enjoy. And not only that, they have 4 blank spots for you to be able to upload your own impulse responses to the CabLoader and host them there. We're not going to worry about that today. We just want to hear what this thing sounds like out of the box. And then finally, we have the mic. Now, what's really cool about the mic is that a lot of other cab pedals that I've come across have the standard stuff, like the 57, the 58, Sennheiser 421, usual suspects kind of thing. But I feel like what ENGL has done here is they've really gone to the trouble of trying to figure out other more classic guitar recording microphones like the Neumann U47 and U87, and even gone into microphones that they like to use. There's some Sonys and some MXL Marshall microphones. It basically runs the gamut, and it's really cool. We also have a few knobs up the top that kind of further help us to be able to craft our direct tone. There's a presence control, which is directly attached to the power amp selection, basically allowing you to tailor the high end of the power amp sound. We have our master, which is our master output control. This obviously is the selector for our cab model. And then we have center and distance directly attached to the microphone. At full counterclockwise, that's basically the center of the speaker. And then as you turn it clockwise, yep, you're getting further away from the center of the speaker. And then distance, the distance from, you know, the virtual cab and the virtual microphone, move it back and forth. It's really cool, and it really helps you hear the wild variations that you can get by just moving the microphone around on a speaker. There's much more to this than that. There's input pads for instrument level and line level. There's a through output so that you can send it to the front end of an amplifier if you want. There's an unbalanced 1/4 inch output. There is a balanced XLR output with a ground lift switch on it. And what more do we have? Well, the 2-foot switches. Let's talk about that a little bit, because these aren't bypass, turn on, turn off foot switches. These are favorite cab setup pedals. So you can basically set the knobs however you like, and then save to favorite A, save another setup to favorite B, and then you can go ahead and get rid of both of them, and then you have whatever the knobs reflect right there. So you basically can save 3 different cab mic power amp setups, which is pretty darn cool. And we're going to explore this little world. So here's how it's gonna roll. We are gonna stick with the Les Paul. We'll bring in the Jennings Navigator whenever I feel like it's a pro for the Momo. That moment, pardon me for that. Boss TU3 tuner on the floor, and a couple other pedals to help us have a little bit of fun. I have the Big Joe Empire, the Chase Bliss Automatone Preamp Mark II, and a Walrus Audio Fathom for some little spacey reverb kind of goodness. So let's get down to it and hear some of the cabs that come preloaded into the CabLoader. As you can hear, whether it's clean or it's dirty, the cab sim choice has a big effect on the overall guitar tone. And it's really cool to be able to hear the differences that you can get from, say, a 412 to even an oversized 412, and then from a 112 with a lower watt speaker to one with a higher watt speaker. It's a pretty cool thing to be able to do if you don't own a lot of guitar cabs, like a lot of us don't. But to me, I really feel like what you should consider first is the power amp, because let's face it, preamp, power amp, speaker, amplifier, and speaker cab. It kind of just works that way. So let's select one of the cab sims and then mess about with this power amp sim. Now that's just with the presence at 12 o'clock, and everything sounds kind of dark. So I tend to find myself gravitating towards having the presence up all the way. Now let's work our way backwards through those power amp sims. Everything that you've heard until now has been the microphones off completely. No microphone simulation. But now let's see what happens with the center and the distance, basically center of the speaker, right up on it, what these different microphones can do to our starting guitar sound. What's really great about this is it's very hard for a lot of guitar players to understand the great effect that microphones can have on your tone. It's just because a lot of these microphones that ENGL has decided to put into the CabLoader are prohibitively expensive. One of them is a Neumann E27, which I own one of, and it's a $3,000 microphone. But then, of course, that's at one end of the spectrum, and at the other, you have the SM57, which is $100. So you have the accessible to the increasingly inaccessible, from the dynamic to the condenser to the vintage. It's really a cool thing to be able to explore. And when you combine all these things together, it's really amazing just what you can do at the turn of a knob with this thing. It's pretty stellar. But what I want to do now is show you this center and this distance control. And I feel like we should go back to the E27 model on this, because I feel like what ENGL has gotten right with the CabLoader is that it really does help you illustrate the way that a microphone would react to being close to the source. Basically, with a condenser microphone, you have a very sensitive capsule that is picking up a lot of different audio information. And this might seem a little like into the weeds about recording. And if you guys want more into the weeds recording video kind of stuff, please let me know in the comments, because I'm happy to do it. But condensers have a tendency to clip. They have a tendency to distort earlier because those capsules are so sensitive. You don't need to put as much preamp gain onto them as you would, say, a 57 or a 58. But it gives us a good idea of what it's like to move the microphone away from the source. So keeping this same exact sound, let's mess with the center and the distance. First, I'll do the distance, because then I feel we'll really hear that dip in the low end. You can hear that low-end information starting to build up. That's called proximity effect, and sometimes it's heard as sort of distortion in a certain frequency area, but to me, what I end up hearing it as, it's not so much distortion, it's just that your microphone is having a difficult time keeping up with the source and picking up the information accurately. Since low-end frequencies have waveforms that are much longer and bigger, it kind of makes sense that the closer that the microphone is to the speaker cabinet, it's going to be harder to pick it up. Let's see what happens if we move it back. Even that little bit, our low end started to clean up quite a bit. Let's put it up a little bit more. Let's move it as far away from the source as possible. It's still a hefty guitar sound, but our low end is a lot tighter and a lot cleaner. That's because our microphone is not jammed up against the speaker and having a really hard time trying to figure out what all this stuff is supposed to sound like. It's given the time to figure it out, people. And it even feels like the reverb that I have from the Fathom is a little bit more time to breathe. We'll move it just a little closer. We'll move it back to there. And now let's mess with the center knob and see what happens when we start sweeping it across the diameter of the speaker. that we start losing high end. That's basically what happens as you move the microphone away from the center of the speaker and start going towards the edge of it. It warms up the sound a little bit. So there you have it, a power amp sim, a cab sim, a microphone sim. All the stuff that you would normally hear in a guitar signal is here in the CabLoader. All you need to do is just find the appropriate pedals that you want to plug into it, and off to the races you go. And with that in mind, I'd like to take a moment and show you guys some of the combinations that I particularly like, with some clean stuff, with some crunchy stuff, and with some real filthy stuff. Hey, I actually really liked that sound and this cab setup. So this gives me a perfect opportunity to show you how you can save one of your cab setups. And it's so easy. It's so stupid simple. I love it. I have it set up exactly as I want. So now I want to save it. Press and hold on whatever foot switch, A or B, that you want it to be on for 3 seconds, and it should save it. So 1, 2, 3. See the blinks? The blinks must mean that it's saved. So let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so I've made something completely wildly different, and this is what it sounds like. But I want to go back to what we had earlier. A favorite A. There you have it, my friends, a little look at ENGL's CabLoader. Man, they have been cranking out some really cool pedals in the last couple of years, from the custom series stuff that we saw last year to the CabLoader right here. This has quickly become my favorite guitar cab sim in a pedal of all the ones that I've tried. And I still like the ones that I've tried, but what I love about this is how many options there really are for you. 112, 212, 412, and oversized cabs of those variations. More power amp simulations, more microphone simulations, the ability to mess with distance and centering of the microphone. It's really quite endless. I think the only thing that I would like to see is maybe on a future version of this, having some sort of control over the amount of power amp saturation that you get. That's one of the things I like about the NUX Solid Studio that I think would be really cool to have here, just so that you can mess with some power amp distortion simulation. Might be kind of fun, personally. I think so. Other than that, it's just really simple to use. You can get going with this thing in a matter of moments. And I've tried this with a bunch of different setups leading to this video with different pedal preamps like the Automatone, the Orange Terror Stamp, the Carvin Tube preamps, and even just plugging distortion pedals into it like a Rev G3, the Empire that we had down here. Ultimately, this thing really does take a lot of the guesswork out of direct guitar stuff. It's just very simple to use, and I will definitely be throwing it on a future DI pedal board. Maybe we'll see a build video of that. I don't know. Only time will tell. But I certainly hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do me a favor and help appease the algorithm by clicking the thumbs up and giving it a like, sharing it with your friends, and of course, clicking the subscribe button and ringing the notification bell. That way you won't miss any of the videos that are coming up here on the channel as we round out the whack-ass world that is 2020. It has been awesome of you guys to spend part of your day with me. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and until next time, my friends, I'm SeanPierceJohnson, and I wish you all out there great tone, good health, and happy stomping. Cheers, friends. We'll see you next time, and God bless.